Hey guys, it's Gus, and I got some topics to talk about. They might bore you, they may not, but before we do that, let me show you an alternative way to doing these killing mobs for vouchers in the siege. And if you notice, what you do is you don't kill one mob at a time, you group them up and try to kill three or four mobs at a time. If I don't know if it works well for all classes, HRs are okay, and it seems to work for us. Also, if you notice, I am using these health potions a lot, but I was using health stones. That was dumb. I wish I would have known at the beginning or thought of it, but these health potions are much cheaper. So first things first, I never almost ever check the Zen market, so I didn't realize that where are they? Where are they? Oh, the journals are here, right? There's this sash of embellishment, the scarf of embellishment, and the storyteller's journals. So you're probably going to read some guides or hear some players in your alliance say these are best in slot. Um, I'm going to be the first one. People may disagree. I do not agree with that whatsoever. They're good for running, solo content or random content, but when you're running trials, very rarely will you ever get to use the journals. Typically, you're running an artifact set like the demo set or the Apocalypse or the Vistani. So one of your artifacts is going to go for your set. And then you're also going to run a debuff artifact. So that means you only have two artifacts left, which means you don't have room for three journals. So the only people that can really run three journals is somebody on the Mythalar set, somebody on the demo set, or if you're not running 10 debuffs, which most groups aren't, but they will be very soon when the new lockbox comes out. We're now getting our 10th big debuff artifact. You could say Jewel of the North is one, but God, that thing's a beast. So really nine right now. So you might have one person running Frozen, uh, Demo, and a Mythlar. So those three people get to use the three journals. Other than that, you're not using them. But uh, so you've heard, if you've watched any of my previous videos, I've mentioned multiple times I don't recommend spending any Zen in this game. Well, you can use Zen that you get through the Astral Zen Exchange, which, by the way, I just got 2 days ago on the 19th that I placed on January 31st. So about 3 months and 19 days. So we're still getting at least 75K Zen a year, which is very manageable for most people. Like 75K Zen is usually more than enough to do anything you want in the game. PS4, anyways. Xbox, I heard, is much faster. PC, you poor guys, rip. Maybe it will get better. Don't see that happening anytime soon. But I always say, until this game starts showing any signs of being a trustworthy company, I wouldn't recommend spending any money into it. And where's my reroll tokens? I mean, it just compounds every single time I spend Zen on this game. It usually turns into some fiasco with the help desk, and every single time I'm just shot down, and they're like, so you get adventure. So the thing with these journals is the only reason why people are really using the journals, it's not for the damage procs. For HR specifically, it's almost 1% damage, which is really irrelevant. If you put on three 1200 item level journals, you're going to get 1800 more item level, which is about 2.3 to 2.5% more damage based off your current item level. So you're going to get much more damage out of item levels, higher item level artifacts. The reason why people wear them is because the procs from the journals proc the Band of Air. Well, they just discussed, on the recent stream that the procs are unintentionally procking the Band of Air, and that could be from the journals as well. My suspicion is that they're not supposed to proc the Band of Air. If that's the case, the three times journals will be almost obsolete and not seen in trials anymore. Maybe even dungeons for that matter. So This happened very recently with other items in the Zen market where they put items on sale and immediately nerfed their effects. I see this possibly happening with the three-time journals, which keeps confirming what I keep saying about the shadiness of this company. Uh, but this time they did tell us, they did hint, not directly say, that the Band of Air should not be procking those journals. So my recommendation is to not get the journals. As a matter of fact, I keep talking about how the Staff of Flowers is the worst artifact in the game, but I think I'm wrong. It's not. It's the envenomed artifact. Next time you're in a failed queue, inspect people and see how many are wearing that envenomed journal. It is pure garbage. And it's not a bad artifact, it's just bad for group play. It gives players, possibly a false sense of, strength, that their damage is really good, and it's not. That journal is really bad. It's usually a main culprit for failed dungeons. And the bad part is, the only way to get it is from Zen or to buy it from people in the auction house who paid Zen for it. So again, I'm gonna say, um, uh, don't use the venom. The frozen is okay. It's a damage buff, not a debuff, and usually we have so much damage buffs already that you're not getting 10% damage. You're getting much, much less than that. It only buffs the people in the small radius that you cast it in, so a lot of people, players on the team, aren't feeling the effects of the frozen. So, uh, my recommendation is I would not touch the journals. They are not best in slot for trials unless you're one of the very few people who get to wear them. And if you're new to trials, that definitely won't be you. Not because you're not capable, it's because you, yeah, it's usually reserved for the people who are known to be the strongest players who won't die. Because if you're wearing those, you really need to pull more than your own weight. Um, they also talked about some nerfs recently, right? Those nerfs were there's two people rejoicing over this nerfs. There's end gamers who want content to be as hard as possible. I don't know if it's because they want the challenge, or if it's because they don't want other people to complete the whatever they accomplished. Or I think it's the new players who think that that they're overpowered. And the thing is uh, one of my fastest melts ever was a group where we had nobody wearing that stuff, and it was amazing. You don't need those. If they nerf the rib cage, well, it's on preview, so on the previous nerf, it's a 5% damage loss. I could care less. If they nerf the band of air, I could care less either. I lose about 6% damage as an HR. Other classes, maybe more than that. Who knows? Uh, but that's okay. I'll still complete everything. It doesn't matter. But who it's going to affect are the newer players who are struggling in most content, even if they have those gears. And what it's also going to affect is, one example is I run Reapers every day. And I always host in zone chat because I want to run with new players and I want to help players that normally wouldn't get invited. And usually they don't have either of those gears, and I don't care. We'll get through it. The problem is if I can't do as much damage, it's going to be harder for me to help. Some people would say carry those newer players through the content they're probably not ready for. And I know there's going to be players who say, well, if they're not ready, they shouldn't be in there. Well, it's easy to say that if you've been playing for 6 years and you have everything. We have a lot of new players coming to this game. And it's very easy to get to the item level requirements for, say, Reapers or Tom, but they don't have the practice or the gear necessary. But does that mean they shouldn't experience the game? Well, I don't know, but I'm trying. I'm trying to help them, and it's going to be harder with that nerf. So it's not going to hurt me. Those nerfs are, I think, going to hurt the newer players who benefit from the players using them. Some people say it will create less elitism. I disagree completely with that. It might actually be the opposite, where if you've experienced elitism in the game, it might actually be more so because teams won't be able to afford to have that extra space for someone who's not ready yet. Um, yeah, I'm not a fan of it. It's not going to hurt me, but it's going to hurt other players. And I don't think this game's in a state where they can keep hurting players. Uh, when we ran Tom, I remember I made this 23K item level tune that was getting top damage in some runs. People were laughing, but back then, we only had legendary insignias. A lot of people didn't even have those. We didn't have mythic companions. We didn't have mythic mounts. We didn't have collars. We didn't have any of this stuff. Players could come and relatively gear up for Tom and Zerial, or Tom more so than Zerial, fairly quickly. I would argue Tom right now is harder than it's ever been. Yes, we can burn it faster, but it's also more unforgiving where if one player messes up, it causes the group to wipe much more so, especially with the hypo damage that is completely unforgiving, the ice breaking it easy. I think the dungeon's harder than it was when it first came out. My opinion, I might be wrong. It's okay if you disagree. But I join a lot of runs where they're like, "Can you help us? We're having a hard time." And I go in there and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And we're getting a lot of deaths we never would have gotten because one player messes up the hypo, and it's almost a whole group wipe every time. So I don't know about these nerfs if they're necessary because people say they're overpowered. Well, mm, I'd like to see an example where people are completely steamrolling because of it. We can steamroll content without it. All I'm gonna lose is a couple seconds off my dungeon, right? It's gonna be a small nuisance and cost me a couple more seconds in my runs. But for a lot of players that are newer to the game and still learning all the mechanics and can't afford to play as many stupid hours as I put in this game, which I am the first one to admit is too much, they're gonna have a hard time. And these nerfs are only gonna make it harder. That rib cage, is expensive now, but for almost the whole year, they were only 3 cold words. And people say, 3 cold words? Shit, I've done a video of how many cold words you can get every month. So if you are going to spend Zen, if you have to buy Zen, if you have money burning a hole in your pocket and you have the total urge to spend money, the first thing I would spend money on, the best investment I believe in the game, is not VIP. The best investment I think in the game is character slots. And then VIP, because character slots don't disappear after 6 months. Character slots get you cold words. Character slots get you 300,000 a day in 12 minutes. I don't think VIP is getting anybody 300K a day. And did you hear that the signpost is coming to VIP 1? I had to mention that. It's a joke on our Discord. Oh, there you go. Stay classy, Neverwinter. And if you have any comments, please post below because I'm very curious to hear what people are thinking, guessing, assuming about these upcoming changes. Stay classy.